Hello, I'm just going to take you through some of the key quotations for Portia from The Merchant of Venice. You can see there's a picture over there, and then we've got the three caskets, some rings, and the weighing scales. And then down the left-hand side, I'd like you to consider that she could be the most important character in this play. She, after all, is the person who makes everyone except Shylock happy. I want you to think that you could also use these quotations to write about the role of women, about relationships, about power and wealth and money and what people give value to, and particularly writing about law and justice when she gets to the court scene in Act 4. So if you've seen any of the other little videos about characters, usually I work from left to right and talked about the quotations, but here I've organised them into blocks of 3. We've got the beginning, the middle and the end. You can see that at the top, and then I've got 6 columns. I'm actually going to be working down the columns, so 3 down and then back up to the top again. And as you can see, the first one says, "By my troth, Nerissa, my little body is aweary of this great world." First of all, troth means truth. She's being honest with Nerissa, which tells us that she confides in this person, her maid, her friend. She's not just a maid or a servant. This woman is her closest ally, her friend. And then she talks about her little body and the great world. Yet another example of Shakespeare balancing these two opposing, different, opposite ideas. Little body, great world. She feels small, she feels insignificant, and certainly not in control. Our second quotation, yes, it was Bassanio, as I think he was called. Seems a bit boring on the surface, but actually it's really important because she suddenly comes to life, she suddenly gets excited, and she uses this word Bassanio. It tells us she knows all about him, she's been thinking about him, and she hasn't forgotten him. Portia does not want to marry the Prince of Morocco. She's desperate that he doesn't open the right casket. She says, "If you have the condition of a saint and the complexion, skin colour, of a devil, I had rather he shrive me than wive me." This is quite a complicated quote, but it's pretty straightforward. So in other words, if he's saintly, so he's a really good person, but if he's got the skin colour of a devil, which is complicated really, isn't it? But she's basically saying someone different, someone strange. I'd rather he shrive me than wive me. You need to know what shrive means, which means hear my confession, rather than marry me. Okay, so she's talking about the fact that she really does not want to marry him. Portia reminds us all that she has no choice, that her life is in the gambling hands of others. The lottery of my destiny, that's her future, isn't it, bars me, that means stops me from the right of voluntarily choosing. She has no choice, and she's just reminding us of that fact. The key word is lottery, the idea that this is a gamble that others are taking. Another quotation that seems simple: "If you choose that," the correct casket, "then I am yours withal." I think you really need to focus here on "I am yours." Here Portia just seems like a possession, doesn't she? Something that passes between different people, and I think that's the word you should focus on. After Morocco's disastrous attempt at opening the correct casket, and at the end of the scene, Portia says, "A gentle riddance, draw the curtains, go, let all of his complexion choose me so." Here, this is Shakespeare using a rhyming couplet to tell the audience that the scene is at the end, the curtains go, choose me so. That rhymes. But what we're really getting here is that Portia has no intention of marrying any man with the complexion that Morocco has. Now, obviously, she has been accused of racism here, but we need to just think carefully about whether she's got any choice or whether she's just talking about the fact that I have no choice, and if I did, I wouldn't choose a man like him. Here's a quotation that shows that Portia is clever. She tells Bassanio, "Pause a day or two before you hazard." The word hazard is written on the lead casket, and if Bassanio hears correctly, he knows that that might be a clue. Of course, it's also just to show that she's desperate for him to choose the right one. She doesn't want him to plunge in and choose the wrong casket, so she's asking for him to be patient. This next isn't a quotation, but it's something I want you to think about. The song "Where is Fancy Bred, in the Heart or in the Head" plays in the background as Bassanio makes his choice because Portia has asked for it. She's asking, and she's making him think in this song, what makes us choose one person or another? Is it our heart, or is it something we think about, something in our head? but you can forget all that. What's really happening is that the word bread and head rhyme with lead. She's trying to secretly influence his decision. Now this next quotation looks like someone's talking about someone else, but it's not. It's Portia talking about herself. It's almost like she's become a different person, and this is directly after she's given herself completely to Bassanio. She says her gentle spirit, she means herself, commits itself to yours, to be directed as from her lord, her governor, or her king. She's kind of saying Bassanio is her master now. Despite being rich and powerful, she has given herself to him, or at least that's what she says. So with this quotation we move to the court, or at least the introduction of Balthazar, who we know of course is Portia, to the court. And the Duke is reading from a letter, and it says, "I never knew so young a body with so old a head." So this is a description of her experience, her wisdom and her cleverness. She probably wrote it herself though. It doesn't take long for Portia to get Shylock on side. He believes that she's going to agree with him, and actually for a time she does, which is why Shylock says, "Oh wise young judge, how do I honour thee?" Which means he honours her a great deal. He believes she's going to side with him. Portia's first tactic is to talk about mercy and to appeal to Shylock to be merciful towards Antonio. She says that quality of mercy is not strained. In other words, there's not this small amount of it. There's no type of mercy to be had. What she's saying is that it is twice blessed. It blesseth him that give and him that takes. In other words, both people will benefit. She's trying to appeal to the banker, to the mathematical mind of Shylock by saying, you will benefit from this. There is something in it for you. But it fails. He's not interested. But as Act 4 continues, Portia shows her cleverness, her wit, and her intelligence. She says to Shylock, "Have by some surgeon, Shylock, on your charge to stop his wounds." This is all about the idea that she's starting to introduce the fact that no drop of blood can be spilt. And it's just a simple question, but it might make the audience believe that she's got something up her sleeve, a trick that might help to rescue Antonio. So Portia says, "This bond doth give thee here no jot of blood." Notice all those single syllable words again, something you can do if you want to have punchy dialogue. This is Shakespeare. In other words, there is nothing in the bond about giving over a jot of blood. Yes to a pound of flesh, but no to any blood. She's found the problem with Shylock's absolute commitment to the law. If he sticks to the law, he's going to fail, because he cannot take any blood from Antonio, and it is Portia who has proved it. It doesn't take long for Portia to bring Shylock, both metaphorically and actually, to his knees. She says, "Down, therefore, and beg mercy of the Duke." Two imperative verbs there, get down, and I want you to beg. She knows that Shylock hasn't been merciful, and she's going to watch, and she's going to make all the court watch as Shylock begs the Duke for mercy. This is quite cruel. It's just the final act of something that she's been planning, and I suppose this is what she expected to happen. And so we see it. This is a very powerful scene. A woman, dressed as a man here of course, but a woman nevertheless, bringing this man to his knees and making him beg. And of course towards the end of Act 4 we see Portia become playful again. Once she's won, but still dressed as Balthazar, don't forget that. She insists that Bassanio hand over his ring. "And for your love, I'll take this ring from you." Notice it says, "I'll take this ring from you." Less of a request, more of a demand, so she's still being demanding. She's testing him. She's finding out whether he will do everything he says. In Act 5, poor Bassanio has to explain to Portia back in Belmont that he gave his ring away to a doctor of law. And so Portia, quite cruelly, but sort of in fun, says, "Well, I'm going to go and sleep with that doctor then, because that's the person I thought I was going to live with, to be with forever. So I might as well go and find this person and be with them." Now obviously she knows she is that person, but it is pretty cruel, and it's probably going to torment Bassanio for his failure to stick to his promise, which was to keep that ring on his finger. Eventually Portia owns up to her trick and her deceit, and she says, "Pardon me, Bassanio, for this ring the doctor lay with me." And the key point of this quotation is the phrase, "the doctor lay with me." She's owning up to being the doctor, which is, perhaps this is a warning to Bassanio that she's incredibly clever, she's incredibly powerful, and she's not frightened to challenge him and to make him pay and to make him suffer. So that girl who said she was going to be let him be lord and master possibly wasn't telling the truth there, and she's just letting him know who's boss. On this final quotation, she just says, "You were to blame. I must be plain with you." I think this idea of being plain is back to being Portia. There's no talk of bedfellows or doctors or any of those things. She's trying to be honest with him, and I think it's a very simple, plain statement, and it probably takes us back to when she hears Bassanio say that he would sacrifice everyone if it would only mean that Antonio would be saved. And I think she's just feeling hurt by that, and she just wants him to know that it doesn't take much to hurt her. And I think that's what the point of this quotation is, that she's vulnerable, and a good word to describe her at this point might be that she's just vulnerable, but she wants him to know it so that he doesn't hurt her. So I don't expect you to learn every single quotation, but I'd like you to learn what you can manage. Make sure you've got something from the beginning and something from the middle and something from the end, and just think about the different aspects of her as a character. She can be cruel, she can be vulnerable, and she's obviously a prize who feels trapped at the beginning of this play, and I'd like you to just think about these different aspects of her character, because in the end that's what makes her an interesting dramatic character.